What if the most powerful law enforcement agency in the country quietly pulled over 1,000 agents off dangerous cases, not to save lives, not to protect children, but to shield the reputations of elites connected to Jeffrey Epstein? That's the story a whistleblower has laid bare and Senator Dick Durbin just dragged into the light. The FBI, pressured by political leadership, shifted its resources from fighting violent crime to combing through Epstein's files, and what followed has left many Americans wondering whether justice in this country serves the people or only those with influence. For years, whispers about Epstein's connections to the powerful have floated through the public conversation. Politicians, business tycoons, celebrities, so many names have been speculated, but few answers have ever been delivered.
As Attorney General, she told Fox News the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients was, quote, sitting on my desk right now to review, end of quote. 6 days later, Bondi released binders of documents related to Epstein to MAGA influencers. But the documents she released were already publicly available. The absence of any client list led to a predictable, immense blowback. Attorney General Bondi then returned to Fox News, the mothership, and made another startling claim, that a whistleblower told her that the FBI withheld thousands of pages of documents, and then she promised the country would see the, quote, full Epstein files. Yet, over the next 4 months, DOJ and FBI were silent on this issue until an unsigned July 7 memorandum was issued, finding that, quote, systemic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened during the 4 months between Attorney General Bondi's sweeping claims in February and this July 7th memorandum? Our Judiciary Committee learned the embarrassing truth. We were contacted by a highly credible whistleblower describing Attorney General's pressure on FBI to quickly review and produce more Epstein documents as promised. For 2 weeks in late March, the FBI assigned approximately 1,000 personnel in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more Epstein documents. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. Essentially, agents were pulled out of their field from their work combating narcotics and violent crime to review this mountain of documents. Other important FBI work was effectively shut down, according to the whistleblower. Using tens of thousands of personnel hours at the expense of public safety for no other reason than to try to bolster baseless claims you've made is unconscionably reckless. President Trump has not helped the situation. Despite his administration continually making promises about transparency on Epstein and the existence of records that they have not produced, he is currently telling the country that it is all a, quote, scam, unquote. Last week, President Trump posted on his personal social media site, and I quote, my past supporters have bought into this BS, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, unquote, from President Trump. This is the way the president is talking about his own constituents, who are raising concerns about the very claims President Trump's campaign surrogates and administration officials have repeatedly raised. President Trump and Attorney General Bondi are directly responsible for the confusion and mistrust around Epstein's prosecution. Attorney General Bondi, in particular, owes both Congress and the American people the truth about Jeffrey Epstein, the whole truth and nothing less.
When Pam Bondi was confirmed as Attorney General, some thought this might be the moment the truth would finally break. She told Fox News on national television that the so-called Epstein client list was sitting on her desk. That statement alone sent shockwaves across the country, but what came after was even more unsettling. Pam Bondi's first weeks as Attorney General were defined by one headline-grabbing declaration. She claimed to have direct access to the files everyone wanted, the names tied to Epstein. For victims, journalists, and ordinary Americans who had been waiting years for clarity, her words raised hope. Within days, she released binders of documents to a group of high-profile influencers aligned with her political base. Social media exploded. Had the truth finally arrived? but the excitement evaporated almost instantly. The big reveal turned out to be documents already available to the public. Nothing new, no secret list, no bombshell revelations, just old files repackaged. The absence of any incriminating names sparked outrage. Across political lines, people began to ask, was this incompetence, or was it theater designed to distract? And yet Bondi wasn't finished. Facing blowback, Bondi returned to Fox News, this time with another claim. She told viewers a whistleblower had come forward, alleging that the FBI was deliberately withholding thousands of pages of Epstein-related files. She promised that the full Epstein files would be revealed soon. The country braced itself. If true, this would be one of the most explosive disclosures in modern history. The very idea that thousands of hidden records existed, records that could expose who enabled Epstein, who protected him, who participated in his crimes, was enough to reignite public anger. But behind the scenes, something unusual was happening. A highly credible whistleblower contacted members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and what they described wasn't transparency, it was manipulation. According to this whistleblower, Bondi pressured the FBI to prove her words true. She had gone on national television and promised revelations. Now she needed the Bureau to deliver, no matter the cost. For 2 weeks in March, the FBI reassigned around 1,000 employees, yes, 1,000, from its Information Management Division. On top of that, hundreds of agents from the New York field office were pulled from their ongoing cases. Their new mission: work around the clock, 24 hours a day, to review and process Epstein files. Think about the scale. Agents who had been targeting drug cartels, fighting fentanyl trafficking, tracking violent gangs, suddenly ordered to sit in rooms flipping through binders, combing databases and flagging files. The whistleblower described entire investigations against violent offenders grinding to a halt. Communities already struggling with crime saw fewer agents on the ground. The work meant to protect families was sidelined, not for victims of Epstein but for political optics, and the instructions given to these agents were even more disturbing. According to testimony shared with senators, agents were not directed to prioritize evidence of trafficking networks, potential abusers, or unidentified victims. Instead, they were told to flag any records mentioning specific political figures. Imagine being a federal agent trained to take down traffickers and killers, suddenly told your main task is to highlight references to politicians, not protect the vulnerable, not unearth the truth, just safeguard reputations. The whistleblower called it reckless beyond imagination. Tens of thousands of personnel hours were consumed, not for justice but for theater. And once the review was done, what did the public receive? Nothing. For 4 long months after Bondi's televised promises, the Justice Department and FBI stayed quiet. No files were released, no names disclosed, no explanations offered. The public was left in limbo, replaying Bondi's words and wondering when the bombshell would drop. Then on July 7, an unsigned memorandum appeared. Its conclusion was blunt. Systemic review revealed no incriminating client list. That was it. After months of hype, promises, and diverted resources, the official word was that nothing incriminating existed. The supposed list that Bondi said was on her desk vanished into thin air. To many, the July memo felt like a cover-up sealed with bureaucratic language. How could thousands of man-hours, 4 months of review, and a whistleblower's dire warnings lead to nothing? Bondi's actions fit a troubling pattern that Americans have seen before: make a dramatic claim, stir outrage online, promise transparency, and when questions arise, shift the blame elsewhere. First, she claimed to have the list herself. When pressed, she released old documents. When that failed, she blamed the FBI. When the FBI spent weeks combing files with redirected manpower, a memo quietly declared nothing existed. Each step deflected responsibility, but none delivered the truth, and the collateral damage was enormous. Cases of drug trafficking stalled, violent crime investigations paused, communities left vulnerable while political leaders played games with one of the darkest scandals in modern history. The numbers alone are staggering. Over 1,000 FBI employees reassigned, hundreds of agents sidelined, 2 weeks of non-stop shifts, tens of thousands of hours spent, not to protect the public, but to validate a claim made on television. What was lost during that time? We may never know. Cases delayed often mean criminals walk free. Evidence goes stale, witnesses disappear. Every hour matters in investigations involving narcotics, gangs, and trafficking. By pulling resources away, lives were put at risk, and yet this story has barely pierced mainstream coverage. In an age when scandals are measured by clicks, the misuse of federal agents has slid under the radar. But for families impacted by crime during that period, the cost was real. Some may ask, why revisit this story? Why focus on Pam Bondi's claims and the FBI's actions months ago? The answer is simple, because it reveals how easily justice can be bent by political pressure. If an attorney general can compel the FBI to suspend core operations just to save face on television, what does that say about accountability? If thousands of man-hours can be wasted without consequence, what happens the next time a leader makes a reckless promise? This isn't just about Epstein. It's about trust in the system meant to protect us. It's about whether the FBI serves the public good, or the political agenda of whoever shouts loudest. At the heart of this scandal lies a simple truth: the American people deserve transparency, the victims of Epstein deserve justice, and law enforcement deserves the freedom to do its job without being yanked around by political stunts. Bondi's words raised expectations she had no ability or perhaps no intention to meet, and when the house of cards began to collapse, she leaned on the FBI to bail her out. In doing so, she compromised not only her office but the safety of communities across the nation. We may never know what those thousands of hidden documents truly contain. The July memo declared no incriminating list existed, but given the chaos surrounding the review, can anyone take that at face value? Senator Durbin's revelations should not be the end of the story. They should be the beginning. Congress owes the public a deeper investigation. Who gave the orders? Who decided to pull agents from active cases? Who crafted the July memo and why was it unsigned? Without answers, trust in the Department of Justice erodes further. Without accountability, the pattern will repeat. And without transparency, victims are betrayed again and again. The weaponization of law enforcement to protect reputations instead of citizens should disturb every American, regardless of party or ideology. This is not about left or right. It is about whether the most powerful institutions in the country still serve justice or merely power. The Epstein scandal has always symbolized more than one man's crimes. It has symbolized how wealth, influence, and connections can bend the rules. From sweetheart deals years ago to endless delays in disclosure, the case has repeatedly highlighted the gap between ordinary people and the powerful. Bondi's episode with the FBI is just the latest chapter. A reminder that when elites feel threatened, the machinery of government can be twisted to protect them. And each time that happens, the gap between justice promised and justice delivered grows wider. This moment should alarm everyone. The story Senator Durbin exposed is not just about Pam Bondi. It is about what happens when political leaders treat the nation's top law enforcement agency as a shield for their own reputations. 1,000 agents sidelined, violent crime cases paused, a public misled, and in the end, no transparency, no justice, only confusion. The question now is whether Americans will accept it or demand better. Because power only answers when people are watching. If you believe in real accountability, don't let this get buried. Share the story, talk about it, keep asking questions. Because until the whole truth is known, none of us can be certain that justice is truly being served.